Welcome to Building Trades Week 2022. I'm Kate Lee. I am the Executive Director of Education and Workforce for the South Bend Regional Chamber. Allison Hersig is behind that square that says South Bend Regional Chamber, making all the magic happen. And she is the one who made sure that everybody was here all at the same time and sharing these great information about building trades and the opportunities that are provided in related industries and the industry as a whole. So all attendees are muted. We still want to hear from you, so please use the chat function to ask any questions or share comments. The session is scheduled for 30 minutes, so ask your questions early and often so we don't end up with a bunch of questions at the end that we might not be able to get to. We want to thank all of our sponsors for Building Trades Week 2022, including our premier sponsor, St. Joe Valley Building Trades. Allison is going to drop into the chat our other sponsors, and we do encourage everyone to visit the Building Trades Week landing page to learn more about our sponsors, businesses, facts about the careers in building trades, lots of great resources out there for students to navigate, as well as educators, and also sharing with families and others in your life that you think might be interested in what these messages are. Also, because these are all being recorded, you will be able to share this session with others if you'd like to after this is over. So we appreciate that. And we are excited to welcome Kevin Beavers, Plant Manager at Indeck Niles Energy Center, and Cora Cook, Career Technician in the Power Sector and an O&M Technician at Indeck. So this session will provide a look into the trades careers of plants once it's built and how now once it's built, now it must be maintained. So that's and brought online and all those great things. So I'm going to start asking questions. Again, encourage students and educators to drop questions into the chat. So thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. We're going to start out with just, can you provide an overview of operations at Indeck? Is it 24/7? How many people work there? Talk about how much power you make and just a broad overview, facts and stats that are interesting.
I'm gonna start with energy just on a very high level. And energy is something that we all use. It touches every part of our lives, right? From manufacturing to our homes to wherever we go, we see that electricity is being used. But when we think about electricity, there's three real key elements that have to be addressed. And that one is energy security. There has to be enough energy to go around. We have to meet current and future demand, and there's a lot of planning that goes around that. And our facility is part of that energy security planning. The other thing is we can't just build all of one type of technology. So in the energy industry, there's a lot of different technologies. And why we do that is because there has to be energy equity. We need energy that's accessible and affordable by everyone, right? And then the third part is one that I think we're all familiar with, and that's environmental sustainability. We have to have energy that's responsible and sustainable and good for the planet, right? So about our facility. Indeck Niles is a state-of-the-art power generation facility. We're under construction now, and we are entering the commissioning phase. So we're testing, we're bringing all these pieces of equipment into operation in preparation for when the plant is completed and actually goes commercial.
So there's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening, and there has been even on the construction side. There's a ton of work that's gone on out here, and a lot of really great people making it happen. Our facility generates 1,085 megawatts every hour. Or when it's completed, it will deliver that every hour, which is a big facility. And it's a big facility, but it's in a small footprint. Yeah, and so what does 1,085 megawatts do for us? Well, it's enough to power about 635,000 homes and businesses, on an average basis. One of the things that we're very proud of is that it's one of the most efficient plants in the world. It uses the latest state-of-the-art technology. It has low emissions from clean natural gas. It's very flexible to meet instant demands on the grid. And what does that mean? It can start quickly. We can change the load very quickly. All that flexibility is important because we can only estimate and forecast how the customer is going to use energy, right? Nobody knows if you're going to come home with cold feet and want to turn your heater up, or if you're a business, you maybe have a night shift that runs twice as many machines. So that energy has to be flexible.
Wow, I was sitting here thinking, like, so how many houses per square foot does the Niles Energy Center?
You would be amazed on how much planning goes into those exact questions.
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously during the building process, there was a lot of construction happening out there, lots of construction trades. So what type of trades does Indeck employ currently? And then where does this lead after? So when the plant's up and running, what kind of trades will be important, or what kind of entry-level opportunities might there be?
Well, during construction, it was really varied. I mean, there was everything from, and still is, but it's decreasing now as the plant nears completion. At our height, we had over 700 people out here, and that ranged from engineers to laborers, to electricians, to welders, mechanical people doing piping, equipment operators. It's really everything. But it's short-lived. So that only lasts during construction. As we reach commercial operation, we'll have a much smaller staff. We'll have 21 people out here. And the majority of these are going to be mechanics, instrumentation and electrical technicians. Like Miss Cook here, we will have a number of O&M technicians, and then a small management staff.
Awesome. So this is a good time to jump to Cora and ask the question about your career pathway. So how did you end up in this position where you are, and tell us your story?
Sure. So a bit of a non-traditional path for me starting out. I'm not an engineer. I don't have a chemical background or anything like that. I did have a science degree, but it was for a very specific scope of work. It had good benefits, good job security, but I felt that I was very restricted in my scope within that field. And so I felt that the opportunities were limited for my path forward. I wanted something that would give me a little bit more flexibility, but it would let me grow on skills that I already had. And that's kind of what led me to leap into this pathway, is that the opportunities truly are endless. I've seen people, not just within our site specific employment needs, but the whole industry. You can take it as far as you want. You can go into business and financing and accounting or asset management. It's really a much larger scope than the 21 of us here. It takes a lot more to make this work and run smoothly. So I had to think back to what my focuses were, and I do have a little bit of a strength in some chemistry. So I actually started out in this field doing industrial water treatment, because from an environmental standpoint, that is a huge part of our focus here at the plant. We can't make energy without water. I know that sounds a bit odd, but there are very strict requirements for that, for the equipment to run and operate at its best. And our responsibility on the environmental side is where my focus began. And now I've taken more of a role in the operations side of the plant. And right now, as an OMT, that's a operations and maintenance technician at this facility, my primary job not only involves chemistry, because that's something we have to think about every day, but we have to make sure that our plant is ready to run and keep running and be available. So we're out there doing our everyday walk downs and checks on equipment. We do work with the maintenance department. We do work with our safety and environmental aspect every day when we're out there, and it plays an important part in planning and what we need to do when we take a maintenance outage to make sure that going forward things operate smoothly.
So in high school, what were your favorite classes in high school?
So in high school, I was a bit of a book nerd, but I took a lot of vocational classes. I was very fortunate that we had those programs. I went to a very small school. I think my graduating class was 180 total.
Me too.
Yeah, yep, in Northern Michigan. So we actually did have a focus on vocational programs, and the majority of my senior year was spent in auto shop, believe it or not. So that's kind of where I got the idea of I really like doing hands-on work. I like being actively engaged in what I'm working on. And I like being able to kind of look back and see start to finish, what did I accomplish throughout the course of the day. And then as I grew into the field doing the industrial water treatment, I really enjoy being outdoors in my free time. And I'm able to get a little bit of that, with what we do every day. We're walking down this equipment. It's pretty neat when you're climbing all the way up to the tops of the stacks. We can see all the way into town and Niles, and I enjoy that.
Wow. So what did you do after high school? What was your next education step?
So I went to college. I have a science degree in polysomnographic technology, which is
That rolls right off your tongue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I actually went into the medical field after that, with that science component. And I was working under pediatric neurology with that degree for a little bit. And I love working with people. That's something that has really carried over into this industry, because we work with people from all over the world. And it's amazing, honestly, because people think about energy and power and they think it's, just vast, but it's really a close-knit community. And I've had opportunities to go work up in Alberta, Saskatchewan, throughout the lower 48 states. And you might run into someone that you saw a few years ago, somewhere else across the country. And it is very unique in that aspect, the culture that we have here.
That's awesome. So are there any entry-level positions at Indeck that people would come into right out of high school, or would everything require some type of post-secondary training? How would you prepare for a job at Indeck?
It's a bit of a balance. I think the short answer is the O&M technician can be entry level, but there's prerequisites. There has to be mechanical aptitude. You have to, have an understanding of math. You have to be able to, write and, articulate, reasonably. Probably the biggest thing is mechanical aptitude. And I would follow that into kind of what Cora alluded to was chemistry. Chemistry is a big part of what we do. We can train to all of these things. We have an internal training program that we use to bring people up. But really that's where it starts, is in the plant operations field. And like Cora also said, it can take you anywhere, literally anywhere. And a lot of times people do advance to either control room operations or safety and health. I think Cora spoke pretty modestly. She didn't indicate that she's also going to be leading our safety committee here. She has been very involved in the construction acceptance part with a lot of our documentation. And so these are all things that if you've got an interest and an appetite to be involved in that.
Says that would be a good foundation to build on for those skills that you need.
I think shop classes, that's probably one of the best ways to build that aptitude, because you learn about safety, you learn about using tools, whether that's mechanical shop, electrical shop, auto shop, all those things. It's that real hands-on capability that becomes important. But that's not the only thing. I mean, you still have to pay attention to the basics: math, science, chemistry, and the like.
Are there certain certifications you look for? So if you were, posting a job, or would there be things that would kind of make somebody rise to the top who apply for that because they had certain certifications already in place?
Not necessarily at an entry level. So we have an internal certification program that we use for ourselves. So even if that experience isn't available from the start, we want to build that experience in our employees. Other certifications and where the energy industry benefits a lot from the military. The Navy uses power generation and steam propulsion in ships. I myself was a mechanic in the Army. And so this all translates well to the industry.
And that leads me to my question to you, Kevin, your career pathway. How did you end up where you are? Tell us your story.
Well, when I graduated high school, I went straight into the military, and I was a mechanic for 4 years. When I got out of the military, I was fortunate to start in a power plant that was under construction, and I have been doing that same thing for the last 40 years.
Wow.
And it has been an amazing field to be in. It's taken me all over the world, and I started at the bottom, and now I'm in a management position.
So obviously you've continued to collect knowledge through traditional and non-traditional education pathways. And it was interesting talking about Cora being in charge of the safety committee. Even that's huge. And that's like great personal development for yourself and leadership. And so for you, Kevin, was there tuition reimbursement for the companies that you worked with? Or did they send you back to traditional school, or is it mostly internal?
It's a mix of both. So there is tuition reimbursement. There was a number of ad hoc classes that the company directed me to go to, and obviously financially covered it. Most of the utility companies and energy companies do have tuition reimbursement. Here at Indeck Niles, we have tuition reimbursement. But the other part, I think, is being willing to do something new, something that's not necessarily part of your job, which is what Cora has done, which that's certainly what helped me get to where I'm at. Is when you look for ways to learn and things to be involved with, you will surely succeed.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to go to Cora with this one. So you talked a little bit about climbing on top of things and looking over the city of Niles, which made me just slightly nauseous, but that's okay. It's not for everybody. It'd make my husband and my youngest son even more nauseous. So I'm ahead of them. So, but what's a typical day like? Is there even a typical day? in what you do?
So things are pretty fluid during the construction transition to commissioning right now. So day to day, it's a little bit different coming in. We may come in, currently, we're in the process of doing steam blows, which is, like Kevin mentioned, we're bringing all these other auxiliary pumps and equipment and components online to make sure that the pieces are all working together fluidly like they should be. And we're actually bringing megawatts up, going through all of our testing modes and making sure that all of our steam piping is clear and free of debris, and making sure that all of our checks are there for us to actually be able to come on and take over and support the grid for this area. Once we transition and we actually have operational control of the facility, we're no longer in construction mode. A typical day for someone like myself, I'm an outside operator, I'm an OMT. We come in, we usually do a brief about what's the status of the plant, what equipment's operating at this time, what things need to be completed, by the end of shift. By standard, one of the first things we always check coming in is chemistry, because if we need to make changes, we want to make sure we've got time to address those issues before end of shift. And then we do a whole walk around of all of the equipment, doing checks. We have log sheets for tracking. We want to make sure that if there's an item that needs addressed, or if there's a safety concern, that that gets taken care of immediately, and we take steps to put planning in place for that to be addressed. My favorite part of the day is we do have some cooks here on site. Staff, it's a highlight of my day because I don't cook at home, but we joke about that a little bit here throughout the day. But we do have a really good sense of community within the staff here. It makes a huge difference. We all look out for each other when we're out there. It's not like we're going to send any one person out in the field, to look at these things. We have support. And
do they send you home with a goodie bag so you don't have to figure out dinner?
Sometimes we do that, yes.
That is a good team right there. So you want to stick with that.
Yeah.
Those extra things that you don't think about when you're looking for a job, but that's a game changer sometimes.
Absolutely.
I would totally agree.
Yeah. So Kevin, over the years, because you've been in this game for quite a while, how has technology, how have you seen technology really impact the industry?
Well, it never stops. I'll say that. And even this project is the most advanced plant that I've ever worked at. So, I have a background in energy, but the truth is that this is the most advanced plant that I've ever worked at. So I am still, almost, at this long in my career, still learning all the time. And this is one of the things that I love about it, is because it's the march of technology is always going forward. There's always an opportunity to learn. And if you're not learning, it's really going to be because it's your own fault. There's so many things to learn, and even this plant is the most efficient plant of its kind today, but 5 years from now, I doubt it will be, because technology is moving so fast, and it's really exciting to me to be able to see how things have changed from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and where they're going to be 5 years from now. Things like robotics and automation. This plant is a lot more automated than any plant that I've worked at before.
And I might actually jump in and just add to that, because it's something that I have taken a bit of an interest in. We haven't really touched on the control side of supporting the operations here for people who are very tech savvy and good with computers. We do so much, not just with, planning maintenance or investigating or troubleshooting, or just taking a look at our equipment and how it's running, and it all is computer based now. If there's anything that you want to take a look at, it's there. Our controls on staff supporting us currently they're shooting loops, which is basically checking and making sure that if I tell this valve to move, is it going to talk back to me and do what I'm asking it to do? And that is a huge part of our operations, and it's something we're always going to have support with. So there is that avenue for people as well.
So you've talked about a lot of the technical side of it. So there lots of conversation with students about soft skills and the importance of things. And clearly in the team the size of yours and with this huge responsibility, I would think communication and just being there are like really important. But are there like, what are the soft skills that you find most relevant for your team, especially going forward when you're up and running?
You know, being able to write, you know, obviously math, you said a key part, just being willing to show up. You know, not every job is easy or, you know, always fun. I mean, we try and have a not just a workplace, but you know, we try and make it a bit of a family. You know, so you have to be willing to be there. Things like initiative, you know, not waiting to be told what to do, but when you see something that needs to be done, that we reach in and do it. You know, I think as the comfort level builds, you know, being courageous and being willing to speak up for what you believe. You know, that one's a kind of a tough one. It varies from company to company, but most of the plants that I've been in, that everybody appreciates somebody who has the courage to speak up and say, you know, I don't like this, or this isn't right, or, you know, I think what we're doing here is unsafe. And this is something that we welcome. We want that engagement, but it's a skill that has to be developed. No, I mean, most people aren't built with, you know, just natural courage, especially when you're just starting in a job. But it's really something that we look for, and in soft skills, I think that courage to speak up is probably one of the most important.
So I know that you're becoming online. Is there a set date for that? And my big question is, what is that like? Like, is it like a countdown to like the space shuttle launching? Is it like what? And well, are there events surrounding that? What does it feel like?
There is. It's totally like a countdown. And what has to happen is that all these tests have to be done successfully. And once that happens, we can declare the plant commercial, and we'll accept the plant from the builder. So right now that's targeted for March 15th.
Awesome. And after that time, there can be educators and students who could come out to visit, and we could schedule interesting trips like that and tours, and they can see what you do. Maybe not stand on top of the tallest tower at the top of the castle like Cora, but you know.
We'll be able to go up to some tall structures.
So that would be great.
But yes, that's exactly right.
Nice.
And,
so
and for you know, you spoke about the educators. You know, we can even do something before then.
Oh, excellent. Good. We are at 11:15, and I don't see any additional questions in the chat. So because the kids do have to, you know, hopping in, hopping out, and everybody's schedule is different, every single high school. So we want a huge thanks to Kevin and Cora and all the attending students and educators. We really appreciate this. Super interesting. Like, I can't wait to come and go on a tour. I'm all excited now. And I encourage everyone who's out in this kind of watching this video to explore the Building Trades Days landing page. Allison's been dropping some great links in the chat about the different jobs. You can see the listing for Indeck out there and learn more about jobs. And get a reminder, these panels are being recorded, so you have the opportunity to go back and watch this, learn from other employers, educators, and community partners about whatever construction, trade, career pathways you might find interesting. And as you can see, construction and trades are multifaceted, and there's a lot of skills that apply in different careers. So we really appreciate Kevin and Cora making that link for us on this, and look forward to seeing Indeck coming online. So thank you very much and have a great day.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. It was a pleasure to be here.